Shalom, friends, and welcome back to a Biselleh Torah. This week, as in previous weeks, we are reading the book of Vayikra, the book of Leviticus. Emor is the parsha that we're reading today, but the entire book of Leviticus is concerned with essentially two things: the laws of purity and the laws of sacrifices of korbanot. In traditional yeshivot, those are houses of learning. When children would attend at a very young age, this is precisely what they would begin to learn. Not the story of Noah and Adam and Eve and the Tower of Babel, but the laws of purity. Because the rabbis say they are pure, they should learn the laws of purity. But I think there's something that inheres far deeper than that. That they, at an early age, learn that this becomes the guidepost for the rest of their life. To learn about what is right, what is wrong, what is pure, what is impure, what can be touched, what can we refrain from touching, and the laws of sacrifices as well. We, as adults, who haven't been exposed to this at an early age, tend to roll back our eyes when we come to these portions and hope that we don't fall asleep when they're being read. But let me take you on a deeper level. In the Talmud, Rabbi Alexander, in the tractate called Biselleh, makes the observation, when you invite someone to your home as a guest, you don't serve them cracked dishes, cracked vessels. But he says it's not so with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, with the good Lord God. He accepts the fact that all of his servants are cracked vessels, accepting us for what we are. And yet at the same time, despite the fact that we all are scarred and burned and burdened by the wrong turns that we've taken in our life, try to be the best that we possibly can, as demonstrated by the sacrifices that we're told to bring to the altar. The sacrifices were to be unblemished. So let's get this straight. The blemished, namely us, are supposed to bring that which is unblemished to God. How does that work? Perhaps by understanding that that which is broken can be made whole by us striving and accepting where we've been, and yet at the same time striving to be where we know we can be. How we can refine and redefine our life to be so much richer and better, knowing that we've taken some wrong turns in life. This is all of us, my friends. All of us are broken vessels, and all of us can do better. And when we look at what we can be, that potential becomes more realistic. Listen to the story of the Biselleh Rebbe, who was interviewing candidates to blow the shofar for his holy community. One after another, they came in, they blew the shofar, and they would ask them, what makes you a good candidate to blow the shofar? One would say, I'm expert in Talmud. Another would say that I'm learned in mysticism. The final man came in, a disheveled man. He blew the shofar reasonably well, and then the Biselleh asked him the same question. He said, Rabbi, in response to what he asked, Rabbi, I am unlearned. I'm not a mystic. I have a family that I try to provide for as best I can, but I know that I'm far less than all of the other candidates that come before you. All I can do is say, I want to be better. I want to be a better provider. I want to provide for my children and my family. I want them to have more. And the Biselleh said, you're the man to blow the shofar for this community. Because your prayer, coming from a place of brokenness that recognizes that it is broken, your prayer will be the holy of holies. Therefore, you will blow the shofar, knowing that those sounds will reach the ears of God. This is us, my friends. When we put down our ego, when we put it in the back seat, and we present ourselves for what we are, knowing what we can be, that's when the laws of Tumah and Tahara, of purity and impurity, of korbanot, that we present, sacrifice that we present before God, take on a whole new aura. We just celebrated a few weeks ago the holiday of Passover, Pesach. You know, in the Bible, talks about some people who were in a state of impurity during the festival of Passover that weren't able to celebrate it. And so God said, I want to create a second holiday called a Pesach Sheni, which literally just translates as a second Passover. For those people that were incapable of observing the first one, let's give them a second shot. Here's a story from the ghetto of Kovno. When they were liberated by the Red Army, there were a few teenagers that realized they just missed Passover. And yet there was a Pesach Sheni, a second Pesach, marked on the calendars that they could observe. What did they do? They cleaned up. They cleaned everything they possibly could. They obtained the necessary Haggadot, and they observed Passover on the Pesach Sheni, realizing they couldn't do the first. And it's enough. It's enough when we realize that we are broken. It's enough when we realize that in that brokenness, we can strive to be before God and present what we will ourselves to become tomorrow, and maybe even later today. Shabbat Shalom.